There we go.
Hey everyone, we are live here with Gary Vee, Regan Hillyer, and myself, and we are so excited to do this with you. We really feel that Gary Vee does not need an introduction, but we'll give you a little bit of one anyway. He is obviously the king of social media, a content machine. He runs VaynerMedia, which is one of the world's hottest social media and first digital agencies. Along the way of his career, Gary became a prolific angel investor and venture capitalist, investing in companies including Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Uber, and Birchbox before co-founding Vayner RSE, a $25 million investment fund. Gary's been named to both Fortune and Crain's 40 Under 40 lists in the past year. He's been profiled in the New York Times, Fortune, and Inc. magazines, and is frequently sought to share his expertise on CNN, Bloomberg TV, CNBC, and many, many more. And of course, he is the multiple times New York bestselling author and about to launch his next book, Ask Gary Vee, which is what we're here to talk about, as well as a whole bunch of cool stuff around personal branding, getting famous for being you, and creating epic amounts of awesome content. So Gary, big welcome to our show, Celebrity Insider Secrets.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're super pumped, and we have a bunch of things that we want to talk to you about, and I'm sure we'll probably go off on a few little tangents here and there and take some questions from people as well. Just wanted to jump in and ask you a question about personal branding.
Sure.
And I was rewatching some of your earlier episodes just the other day, and it was interesting seeing one of the earlier Ask Gary Vee episodes on personal branding, and then tying it into some videos that you were doing this week, where you're essentially speaking about people putting themselves out there and building a personal brand, and they're not really basing it on anything. So you spoke about this in a Gary Vee episode a year or so ago on personal branding, and then also in a couple of videos recently, even just a couple of days ago on purging of the posers.
Yes.
And I loved how you said it's going to be really awkward over the coming months. And my question is, for those just getting started or who are early on in their business, where is the line between, well, you probably shouldn't be here yet, you should be out there accomplishing something, versus you need to get bold about getting your daily content out there and letting people see you to build your personal brand?
Sure. So, on purging the posers, what you're referring to is obviously my last Daily V episode, where what I think is really interesting is that was really more talking about startups and really talking about the companies that have raised money and are they raising and actually creating profitability around their business, versus a lot of the people that are listening and watching to this, which are really focused on building their brand, right? And so the thing with building the brand was a couple of episodes ago, did you see on the Daily V vlog where I was talking to the girl about building a jewelry brand, and I said to her how cool it would be if we could have all watched Vera Wang's journey from learning to be a seamstress all the way to being one of the great dress designers of a generation? I think that a lot of people that are listening here now, and a lot of people in the game, are trying to pose that they're bigger experts than they actually are, right? I mean, you have people who are on Periscope or Snapchat for a week and then selling Periscope Expert $300 a month campaigns, and that's ludicrous. What I think people should be doing more of is just talking about their journey, right? People will associate with you if it's truthful. If you're trying to act that you are justified to have them pay you for something by making up something or embellishing something or downright lying, that's what I'm concerned about, and I think we're seeing too much of that. I mean, look, you can be a 22-year-old health coach, but don't tell me about how to live life when you're 40 seconds into it, right? Maybe talk about how a young person sees the world. What I think a 22-year-old health, wellness, life, spiritual coach should do is talk about maybe helping the 40 to 80-year-old crowd instill some young DNA in today's world, because that's their truth. They do live on Snapchat and Instagram every day. They do stay out to 2 o'clock in the morning. They do think the world is full of possibilities. But what you have instead is, I'm a motivator and I'm a business coach, and I'll ask them, and look, they're all attracted to me because of my personality. I'll ask them, like, what have you accomplished? And they're like, well, what do you mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, why would you want somebody to pay you $200 for an ebook or $300 a month to teach them when, you can't just do that by just saying it? Like, you can't, you're not it by saying it. Like, to me, I've always felt comfortable that I have something to say, because I didn't talk to the world until I was 30 years old, and had already built a $60 million retail and e-commerce business, right? Then I had something to talk about. Now, when I was 22, I was filled with bravado and confidence and strategy and intuition, and I would have talked about my intuition and what I did as selling baseball cards and how I was going to deploy it to selling wine and why I thought the internet was going to be a big deal. But I wouldn't have said, this is how you run a company. This is how you manage 200 people. This is what you should do when you have kids. Those were just things that I hadn't lived yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And that makes so much sense, Gary. And I love that you really speak about coming from a space of authenticity, right? And actually coming from a congruent space of speaking from results. And look, let's talk about content creation quickly, because you put a lot of content out there. You show up on pretty much every platform. It's constant. Like, I'm pretty sure you're creating content while you sleep. So, something Kat and I get from a lot of people is, how do I feel a bit pressured? Like, how do I get content out there constantly? Like, how do I think of what to say? So do you have a strategy around that? Or what advice would you give to someone that's like starting out and is wanting to get their content out there?
So my concern is, as you guys know, right now I have D-Rock, I have Zach, I have Andy, I have India, I have a team now, and everybody who's watching and listening, 99.7% of them don't have 5 full-time employees to help them create more content. But don't forget, when I wrote Crush It in 2009, up until 24 months ago, for the last 8 years, I had just me. Right? And so I lived the solopreneur, just do it yourself. Here's what I did that I think would help a lot of people. I wasn't crippled by how it looked, and I do believe that this gets into classic male-female dynamics, right? I mean, I have a lot of empathy for people in the lifestyle and health space, whether male or female, that feel like their stuff has to look phenomenal. I don't agree, but I recognize the argument. The way you produce a lot of content is to not be precious around any piece of content, right? So the reason I was able to produce a lot is I didn't care about lighting. I didn't care about grammar even. I just wanted to produce. Number 2, find your medium, right? For example, I know you ladies are paying attention, so you probably are familiar with Anchor. I've been talking about Anchor a little bit. It's a great way to produce a lot of content. For everybody who's listening, think of it as audio Twitter, right? You literally put your head to your ear, and you just talk. All of us have had so many random good ideas or quotes or motivational seconds or clarity for a second, and then it disappears in our minds. Like, we've lost them. I would tell you the best stuff I've ever had, I've lost, right? I had it. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to do that, and then gone. So Anchor, for everybody who's watching, I think is a big deal. All you have to do, and you put now your audio, and you could be the breakout hit on Anchor. Obviously I'm wearing a Snapchat t-shirt. I'm super about Snapchat right now. Snapchat lets you do it either to your face or to the outside world. Instagram, you might be great at taking great pictures and then writing a couple of sentences. I think you should blog on Facebook fan pages, long form. There's a lot of ways you can pay somebody $100 to make you a bunch of quote cards for your Instagram or Facebook. You could barter with somebody. You can give them coaching or advice, or give them a free workout or a yoga session to a graphic designer who in turn can give you 15 pictures with quotes or things of that nature. Guys, Kat, I don't think people are hustling enough, right? I think that they're like, oh, I can't put out content. Sure you can. You have stuff. You trade 5 workout lessons for 5 videos, and now you have content, right? Oh, I don't have money and I don't have time. We'll trade, we'll barter, we'll scrap. When I was at a zero place, when we had no money for Wine Library, I printed coupons on my computer, and went to parking lots and put the flyers on people's windowsills. That's how I started. I didn't have any money. I couldn't buy direct mail. I couldn't buy radio, advertising. You got to start somewhere, and too many people make excuses instead of being willing to put in the work.
I love this so much, and this is probably the the key topic of conversation in both Regan and my own communities. People feeling like, well, I'm not good enough yet, I don't have permission, lighting, I'm not professional enough, or I don't have a team, and all of those things where you've just answered that question and then essentially said, well, just stand up and be who you are and let people see it. And the hustle that you do, I mean, it's like hard freaking work all day, every day, and you're up at God knows what hour. I'm not even entirely sure you do sleep at all based on the time of day that we see you online, and the Ask Gary Vee show, the Daily Vee show, which shows how hard you put that work in. But it sounds also to me from what you're saying, like a lot of that visibility and building a community online, it's not fucking rocket science, right? Like it's just showing up and actually opening your mouth and saying what's in your mind rather than editing it a million times before you think you can put a piece of content out there.
Guys, the Kardashians are bigger than the biggest, smartest philosophers on television in America. Like, it's not just, look, I'm going to win on my smarts, not my looks, right? Like that's what I'm winning on. But you could win on your charisma. You could win on that your 4-year-old is funny and shows up by accident in one of your Snapchats, and then 100 people reply about that, and you're like, wait a minute. And then all of a sudden, you've got a 4-year-old that's making you $1 million a year, or your puppy, or this one way that you make raspberry shakes. You decided you were going to do a yoga show. You made a raspberry shake, and 50 people are like, what's the raspberry shake? And you wake up 5 years later, and you sold your raspberry shake business to Pepsi for $10 million. It's not – everybody who says that, and what you're talking about, ladies, is just people that either don't want to actually put in the work or don't have the self-esteem to think they're worthy because their parents or their friends or their boyfriend or girlfriend did a bad job in hurting their self-esteem. I always think I can. I always think I deserve. I always think that I'm entitled. But I also know that I'm entitled to nothing if I don't equally put in the work.
Right. And your overnight success video, which is my favorite video of yours that you've made, and I've spent many late evenings working where I've had that video on in repeat in the background. That is also just, well, you've put in the work since you were 14, 15, 16 years old. And I think a lot of people seem to feel like, okay, if I do an hour a day or if I've just started out, why am I not making money yet? And I think everybody should have to watch that video.
There's two things I want to say for everybody who's listening right now, because I assume a lot of you don't know who I am given the demo crossover. I think this interview in itself is a huge lesson. Let's talk about it. I'm very rich, right? I'm super rich now. I've made it. This is my 4th business book. The last 3 were New York Times best-selling books. You guys made a big bet, bought a lot of books, did a barter deal with me to get me on this show. You guys really stepped up. You know, it's not so easy. You guys have to grind to make that work. We both made bets to be here. Let me explain. You guys made that bet, and I don't know enough about you, but listen, I know it's a big bet, and so I'm very thankful, and I appreciate you guys. And, but I equally, and this is a Saturday. Like, my kids are right there. I don't get to spend that much time with them. I'm at the height of my career. I already sold more than enough books to be an easy multiple-week New York Times bestseller. And then Alex comes along and goes, hey, I really like these gals. You know, here's their stuff. I spent 15, 20 minutes, looked. I'm like, okay, I feel good about where that right? Like, and the only time this interview could have happened was right now, right? And so both of us made another leap, another grind, another step in our careers. We're in different places, right? There's a value exchange, time, effort, monies, all those things, but neither one of us had to, yet both of us did collectively make this happen, and that's that. And it's not that easy. For me, I never give up Saturdays an hour, ever, like ever. Even for my book, I'm not. Like, I did it because, you know, I don't know, because Alex said he liked you guys, and I spent 20 minutes and then did a lot of homework on your reputation, how people talked about you guys. And so, like, it's just amazing how the world works. And yet again, it's one more effort. It's harder for me to give up this hour today than it was to work 15 hours a day when I was 22 years old. Because this hour is the most precious for me. You guys know, you follow me. There's no Daily Vee on Saturdays and Sundays. There's barely any Snapchat content on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm about to go on a 1-month book tour. This is my last weekend with them. And here I am doing this because I'm still grinding. I still want it. I'm still growing. I know this is an audience that doesn't know who I am, right? So the book buy is good, but I like the association with you guys because I know that 94%, 86% don't even know who I am. I know I'm going to say the best crap they've ever heard. So they're like, who's this guy? Right? I know inevitably 15% of them won't like me because there's a little too much ego, a little too much bravado. That's okay. They'll be back in 2 or 3 years, right? But I know for 4 of them, four, I know for 4 of them, I'm going to say something, because I've been a communicator like this my whole life, that's going to actually make them for the first time say, you know what? Shit, I'm going to go and finally do it. It is work. It is putting in work. It's work. It's no magic formula. There's no algorithm. There's no app you can buy. There's no single coach that's going to unlock it. It's just fucking work.
I love that. I love that. And I love what you're saying, Gary, about being aware that, you know, tapping into this interview right now, you're obviously being exposed to our audience, and a lot of people may not have heard of you or even, you know, got to spend a lot of time going deep with you about this, about this stuff. So it's a smart decision on your end versus our end as well. So let's talk around communities and showing up online, because, you know, following you, I love how you show up in terms of you're replying to comments. Like, I really feel like people get to know you as being you. I just want to hear from you, you know, how powerful is creating online communities, and how do you actually go about managing that all, and obviously keeping everyone interacting and engaged with you constantly?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing more important than community, right? At the end of the day, your fan base is, you know, did you guys hear that? Did that chop for a second?
No, I'm good.
We got it.
Okay, great.
It's like a little bit frozen right now. It seems to be coming good again.
Oh yeah, he's just rejoined.
Sorry,
Okay.
guys. I knew, you got me?
Yeah, you're back.
Sorry about that. I knew something was about to happen. Anyway, you know, it comes down to, it's only about depth and it's not about width, right? So, Regan, Kat, you know, like, I can get a lot of exposure, right? For example, you'll love this. I'm going to forward this to you just for you two. I passed on doing Fox and Friends national in the US today, but I'm doing this. Let's think about this for a minute. Let's think about this. That has probably 8 to 15 million homes watching, right? I have no idea how many are watching here. As you know, I never asked. I have no clue. Zero. Whether it's 4 or 5 or 9,000, I just don't know. But here's what I do know. I know that more people are going to tweet me at Gary Vee, everybody, and maybe use the hashtag hashtag Gary Vee, Gary Vee. And I know that me saying that, there's so many more passionate people in your community, and that 40 of them, 16, 22. Tonight I have to go to a party, and Lizzie's got to work on something on the way up there. So in that hour, I'm going to look at the people that tweeted me or that used the hashtag, and I'm going to say hi. And I'm going to say hi, and then that's going to be a relationship forever. Got it? It's about depth, not width. I know that you guys are going to get a lot of value out of me being on this, and you're going to leverage that I was on this, and this pretty much opens up the opportunity for you guys to get anybody on your show that you want in. Sorry guys, I don't know what is going on.
That's all right.
So good again.
I'm going to try to close a couple windows. I don't know if. So I know that that's going to help you get anybody that you want, right? And so that makes me feel good. That makes me feel like I'm bringing value to you guys above and beyond the content that I'm providing here. And so for me, in my mind, you're supporting the book, and that excites me. But I'm also excited that I'm building a deep relationship. So you and I, the three of us, we have a much deeper relationship right now than we did, with our social interactions in the past. I'm about to start my relationship with 40 to 80 of the people in your community with a hello, with a wink, with a thanks, with them quoting something from this interview and me saying, oh yeah, that's about this. And then in 2 years, I may see them at a conference. And, I just play the long game. I'm a marathon runner, right? I look like a sprinter because I'm high energy. I've got kind of that bravado. I always say I'm a tortoise in a hare's outfit, right? And so the reason I do that, and you know this, I probably engage one by one with people on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat more than maybe anybody. More than maybe anybody. And I'm probably in the top 3%, 1% of social media business people in that genre. There's bigger business people, but they don't live in social media. So in the cross-section of business person and social media person, I feel very comfortable saying I'm in the 1%. Yet, I'm outworking everybody. Everybody. Like literally, I'm responding to more people. This is data from Twitter that I'm getting, from Instagram. I'm responding to more people than anybody. By the way, everybody else has more time than me. Everybody. I mean, what Gary Vee has done for everybody has made everybody realize, shit, he really is the CEO of VaynerMedia. There is a reason that's a $100 million company. He does work every minute. Like, what Snapchat does for me is I can take my snap in the morning with the phone number, and it's attached to your phone, so everybody knows, and it's 4 a.m., and then I can take the photo at 1:30 in the morning when I get home, and everyone's like, okay, that was 21 hours. Like, that's what it was. Yesterday was 21 hours, and everybody knows it, right? Because there was the 4:30 in my bathroom picture, and there was the 1:30 walking back in, and people were commenting it was the same doorman because the guy was on his second shift, right? Yeah. Like, so, yet, with all that, I still engaged with thousands of people yesterday on social media because when I walk to the bathroom, when I'm on the plane before there's Wi-Fi, So I do it because I think it's right. I do it because I'm thankful. Do you know how amazing it feels when somebody watches this for the first time? They've never heard of me before, and I motivate them, and they're excited. Think about the first time. Actually, how were you guys first exposed to me?
I don't remember. I feel like you crept into my subconsciousness, and you were a gradual addiction that I woke up one day and realized I'm like watching this guy's stuff all the time. But I wish I remembered who had first introduced me. I think it was through Crush It. I think it was through a friend telling me to read Crush It.
Yep.
And then it was from there.
And you know what? It's funny. That's what I feel is going to happen with Ask Gary Vee. I feel like, no question, the Ask Gary Vee book I wrote with Crush It ambition, right? With the ambition that, Kat, you would say to Lucy when she says something with you at a dinner party, you're like, oh, you know what you need to do? You need to read Ask Gary Vee. And what's really fun about Ask Gary Vee is it's a 360. It's social media advice, it's content advice, but it's also self-awareness advice, it's leadership advice, it's parenting advice, it's work-life balance advice, it's management advice, it's business structure advice, it's biz deving advice, it's sales advice. So it allowed me to really create a book that almost is recommendable to anybody. And that's been very rewarding because the early people that have read it, people that really love me and people that really actually don't love me have been saying the same thing. It's people that love me are like, damn, man, I really love it. And I was like, yo, I don't like the way you said that. It makes me feel like you didn't think you were going to like it. And then people in media, the establishment, the traditional old white male establishment that doesn't love me, like I've had a lot of that. I've gotten a lot of confidential emails this week that say, hey, man, you don't know me. I'm the editor of Wall Street Journal or this, that, and the other thing. I've never really liked you. I always thought you were a little bit of a schmutz, kind of too much about you, or this, that, and the other thing. I had to read it because I have to write the review for my newspaper or magazine or radio. I begrudgingly did, and I gotta admit, I hate to say it because I have friends around me who've said you're a good guy and you are good, but I was like, no. And I gotta say, this is one of the better books I've ever read. So I'm as good as I feel right now. I'm promoting like crazy. You guys see it. It's in social like crazy. I'm doing stuff like this. I have a funny feeling in 3 or 4 or 5 weeks it's going to get even crazier.
It probably will.
And one of the things, one of the reasons I think Regan and I are both in love with you, and a lot of people are in love with you, and also within our audience, there are people who certainly follow you. It's the irreverent and unapologetic approach to the way that you show up, and I guess the whole, for want of a better expression, anti-professionalism in terms of you're going to speak how you want to speak, you're going to say what you want to say, and people can take or leave it. And for us as women entrepreneurs in the female entrepreneur world, and we've both been online for quite a few years, and one of the things through that journey has been, well, you can't say that, You can't speak like that. You have to be professional. And I know I speak for both Regan and myself when I say, like, we get daily emails going, your language is inappropriate, the way that you talk is inappropriate, you're not being professional enough. But we get way more thank yous than we get those emails. And you stand out as a leader, not just in terms of what you teach on leadership and on social media and as an example of somebody who hustles, but also just showing unapologetically that you're going to be yourself, and that that's a big part of personal branding. So what's your take on personal branding in terms of people playing to an audience versus essentially just being, well, here I am, take me or leave me?
You know, I think that I think the truth will always win. I don't know what else to say. You know, I think that people want to be something or somebody. I think that people are selfish. You know, they want what they want out of it, out of the relationship and out of the situation. And I think that I wish I could convince more people to be themselves. You know, I'm leaving so much money and opportunity on the table because I curse. You know, my speaking bureau claims that I'm leaving $3 to $10 million a year on the table because I curse. And I get that. It just, I just don't want to not be myself. You know, like when I had tens of thousands of dollars, when I was making $50,000 a year, when I was making $100,000 a year, when I was making $500,000, I always could make more money. I can make more money now. You know, I could be the #1 person with a $50,000 a year mastermind class and have 50,000 people signed up for it. You know, do you know how many copies of my $300 Snapchat guide ebook I could have sold in February, March, and April of this year? Instead, I did a long post on my blog post, and I've talked about it on Daily Vee, and I've answered 50 questions on Ask Gary Vee, all for free, right? I guess why I'm telling that story is, look, no matter where you are in your life, homeless, a single mother barely on welfare, a guy who used to make $200,000 but now making $50,000. No matter what you are, America, Australia, the world will accept you so much more for your truth than your bravado. And so building a personal brand is more being at peace with yourself and comfortable with who you actually are than the jockeying or the positioning.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, so much sense. And look, with how you show up constantly on social media, it's almost like, in a little bit, you know, through your Snapchat and everything, it's almost like you're celebritizing yourself a little bit. And it's like, you know, it's a real insight into who you are, your day, like where you're going every single day. And, you know, I've heard that on a personal level, you are quite a private person. So I'd be really keen to hear, does having, you know, millions of people following you every single day and just knowing that when you walk down the street, people are going to stop you, or like constantly people are seeing into your life, is there kind of any downfall for that for you personally? Like, has there ever been issues being in the public eye, or just even personally, have you felt, I guess, like overwhelmed or trapped by I just need a break from it all, or do you just love it? Like, how is it for you?
I personally never need a break from it all. You know, the 12 selfies that I took at the airport yesterday, I would have taken 12 million, right? Like, it's so flattering. I will never, ever, 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 ever take it for granted. When I become the #1 guy, and I will, and I have 4,000 people stop me at the airport or 200 people bother me while I'm eating dinner, I'm going to be pumped. I made my bed. I'm going to sleep in it. I want that bed. I want to sleep in it. The one factor is my wife and my kids, right? You know, that's something I have to quantify. Lizzie wants to keep our life private. My kids may not want to have their friends talk about their dad 24/7, 365. So I keep it back a little bit. Our family's getting a little bit older. You know, kids are 6 and 3. When they're 12 and 9 or so, I think I'll have a good read on who they are. And, you know, my daughter's going to love it. My daughter right now literally is in the kitchen acting out her YouTube cooking show. Literally. This is literally true. Misha's got and she doesn't know about my stuff. She just has my DNA. So she's literally, like, subscribe. I mean, I was dying. She was like, all right, subscribe and hit the like button down below, everyone. Like, just acting out. I mean, it's unbelievable. my little guy might be a little bit more shy. So far, so that's the way it is. So, I don't know, but I'll tell you that anybody watching right now, and this happens a lot, one of the things that happens a lot, and I mean a lot, is a lot, is people tweet a lot or snap a lot or Instagram less, but snap and tweet a lot because it's more real time, and say, I just saw Gary Vee, so cool, or wish I said hi. And I'll reply every time and say, if we ever run across each other again, please do say hi. Please say hey. For anybody who's watching right now, you will make me feel better. I'll be happy. When I walk through the airport now, I'm looking at people's faces, and I would tell you 6 out of my 10 selfies are predicated on I can tell they know who I am, and I'll say hi. Huh. So I'm flattered by the admiration. I'm flattered by the attention, and I'm flattered by it if they want a selfie, and I'm flattered by it, Kat, if I know that you're giving me your most valuable asset, which is your time, and that I'm worthy to listen to, right? That the Ask Gary Vee show or Daily Vee or reading the Ask Gary Vee book brought you value, that you chose me and my ideas and my thoughts and my passion over the trillion other things you could be doing. I will never take that for granted. Listen, I know who I am, and this is going to play out over time. I am equally one of the most egotistical people ever built, meaning I truly have unbridled, pure confidence and bravado, and I am disproportionately, overwhelmingly humble for the success I've already put on the board, let alone what I'm about to put on the board. Most of my business partners, my brother, my investors, they are mad that I am too humble. They think that I do things that I shouldn't. They don't think this interview is a good idea. They're like, you're bigger than that. They're not mad at you. It has nothing to do with you guys. They don't even, when I say this interview, I mean anything that isn't the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the front page of Yahoo, CNBC, because I turn down, they ask me all the time, they're like, let me get this straight. You turn down your own show on CNBC, but you're going to go do all these cockamanian podcasts? And I'm like, yes, because when I go do this cockamanian podcast, they're going to use my name to get guests, and forever, they're going to be able to say, it was that, when they make it, and not all of them will, but when some of them do, and somebody's interviewing them, they're going to say, our first big get was Gary Vee, and then everybody came after that, and I like that. I want to be a help. I don't want it to just be for me. I do a lot of this stuff because it's bringing more value to the other person than it's bringing to me.
I love that. And can I just touch on one thing you said there, Gary? Just actually going back to you saying your daughter was in the kitchen and doing the YouTube video, and I love that, because I know, I don't have kids, but Kat does, but we're both really passionate about, the younger generation and having them step into that zone of just being them, right? So I'm wondering, do you believe, I noticed you said that it's in her DNA, like she doesn't know what I do, but it's in her blood, basically.
Yes.
And, do you believe entrepreneurship is literally in people's DNA? Or is it something that people can step into? Is it an identity that people can then go, okay, I want to step into this zone, and can they learn it and become that? Or is it literally, does it have to be hardwired through them to hustle? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that it is hardwired, and that almost everybody who hears me say that fights me on this, right? Everybody fights the idea that this is a hardwired thing, because everybody wants to be an entrepreneur right now. It's the cool thing, right? So I think that it's hardwired if you're going to be special at it, meaning anybody can sing, meaning anybody can work out every day, right? Meaning everybody can play basketball and soccer every day, right? That is, everybody can do that. But will everybody be Pele? Will everybody have an unbelievable body after yoga and working out? Will everybody be Beyonce? Will everybody be LeBron James? Will everybody be Barack Obama? No. Right? So, do I think it's hardwired? Yes, I do think it's hardwired for the people that break out and are special, because no matter how much work one puts in, you can only maximize And hard work's part of the equation, but you're going to only maximize your talent. You're going to get a 10 out of what you were gifted. And so if I was gifted the same thing that other people were gifted, I think there's a bunch of other Gary Vees, right, in business and communication. I just think that I've overworked and outmatched and out-hustled most of them, and that's why I'm ahead of them, right? But I don't think that the kid that's watching right now that puts in 22 hours and I put in 21 is going to beat me if he doesn't have as much talent as I have.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think entrepreneurs are born, not made. My 6-year-old daughter it's in her blood. She video bombs my YouTube videos whenever she can and starts plugging her own YouTube channel. She just appears and it's just instant, and I never told her to do that.
That's right. Nobody taught me to sell lemonade or baseball cards. Right. I didn't even know what my dad did until I was like 10. It was just there. And again, I'm extreme, and I'm going to have extreme results. Do I think a housewife or a stay-at-home dad or a non-college graduate dude or a girl that, you know, his parents didn't give them self-esteem can go from their situation right now of making $37,000 a year working at Starbucks to making $100,000 a year on using Instagram selling her exercise concept? I do. But building a $100,000 business is very different than what everybody's selling everybody on, right? I want people to get more practical. I want people to understand, you know, I feel like I'm getting motivated to write something called like the $68,000 business, right? Because like there are millions of people that don't make $68,000 a year and are miserable. And nobody's saying, nobody's saying that, you know, it's okay to build a $68,000 business. You know, nobody's doing that. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying, oh yeah, you know, you're going to build a great business and you're going to make $68,000 a year. Everybody's like, you're going to have billions and you're going to have lots and you're going to have lofts and yachts. And by the way, lots was a mix between lofts and yachts. You know, and I mean, Google couldn't even handle this truth. That's how much it's truth. Like Google couldn't even handle the truth. They had to knock me off because the truth is so powerful, right? Like it's so powerful. Meaning, you know, if you're a guy, you're putting up. I mean, do you see what these young men are putting up on Instagram of what the entrepreneurial lifestyle is? It's pretty girls, it's watches, it's fancy cars, and let me just tell everybody so they know forever, this is all rented. It's all rented. They're posing, they're trying to act like something they're not, or it's daddy's money, you know, and so, you know, so I think that I just want people to know the truth, which is very hard work against something you're passionate about or might be good at will give you some level of success, probably greater than working a job that you don't love. But that may mean that you go from making $80,000 a year being a teacher that you kind of like, to being $97,000 a year, you know, selling, you know, meditation courses. Got it?
Yeah. I would love to ask you a question about the book.
Okay, great.
And one of the words I love that you use a lot is audacity. I love how you use that in the overnight success video. Like, if you have the audacity to want to create something. And so I wanted to ask you a question about audacity relevant to the book. What would you say is the most audacious inclusion that you've put in there in terms of something that maybe you thought, am I going too far with this, or something that really stands out for you?
That's a great question. Good job. I'm getting a lot of questions, and that was a really good one. So I can tell you that let me answer it in a different way. The real audacious aspect of this book is that I truly want it to become, so you guys know me. You know that the first 3 books that I put out did not have a single picture of me, wasn't about me, right? Crush It, right? not the cliche thing that you see from a lot of people like me where your picture is on the front in the beginning, right? I went the other way. I put out books without me on the front. Now here's this book, and I'm in the front and center. It's called Ask Gary Vee, right? The reason I did that is because I do have the audacity for this to be considered the modern day entrepreneurial Bible, right? And if it is, then there's my face smack in the middle of it, and it gives me the brand equity that I'm looking for. So the audacity in this book is not necessarily where I went with the content, and I think the audacious places I went were around emotional intelligence and parenting, right? It was around the gratitude stuff, it was around the self-awareness stuff, and it was around the parenting stuff. I think that, but the real audacious aspect of this book is my ambition, which is that every single person that is flirting with entrepreneurship has this in their hand over the next 24 months.
Awesome.
And they will.
Yeah, they absolutely will. And what, in terms of chatting on the book and continuing that on, what's your absolute favorite part of it? Like, I've been seeing you putting up, all the little bits each day of all the chapters coming up, and I've loved kind of getting a sneak peek into that. But is there one chapter or one, core element where you're just like, this is the gold?
Probably gratitude, Probably gratitude. I'm going to grab it right now. Hold on one second.
Cool.
I think, the truth is I'm funny with my books. Once I write them, I don't kind of revisit them, I really don't. Let's see. Yeah, probably chapter, oh yeah, I remember. I made I was like, fucking with things. I made chapter 13 gratitude because everybody thinks 13 is an unlucky number, and because I love my sister so much and she was born on the 13th, so I made chapter 13 the one that I care about the most. And it's not super long, It's, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's only 5 pages, but it's the part that I care about the most.
Awesome.
I think gratitude is grossly underestimated. I'm infinitely happy because of my gratitude. Like, no matter what I have, no matter what I don't have, it can always be substantially worse. And I think people are always complaining, and there's just no reason to, There's just no reason to. The math, the data behind actually becoming a human being is extraordinary. Like, I know I'm getting zen here, so stick with me, but the rarity to actually become a human is, it's so unbelievable. There's almost nothing mathematically less likely to happen. And so, I'm just so grateful that I became a person, like that I get to live, that I'm not, in that, you guys have seen the Monday morning rant video, where I
Yeah. Yep. Are we frozen again?
Yeah,
sorry.
That's
I'm back.
Right.
Okay. So, the Monday morning rant video, I talk about not being a bus, and that's my favorite part, right? Because, I'm just freestyling and I'm ranting and I see a bus and I'm like, I could have been a bus.
Google just does not want you on this call.
No, they don't. You guys have me back?
Yeah, it's back.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
So, I just think I could have been a bus. I think that I could have been a bus. I just am so thankful to be a person, and I'm grateful, and I'll always be grateful, and I'll be grateful. Look, I'm a kid that didn't grow up with 3 of my 4 grandparents, so I could complain that I didn't have a grandpa or, in my life ever to guide me, right? I could complain about that. Most of my friends do complain about stuff like that, right? I don't complain about it. I am thankful for what I got versus dwelling on what I didn't have.
So Gary, let's talk on gratitude, because I think maybe there's a lot of people listening and going, well, Gary, if I had your life and your business, then I'd be grateful too, right? So obviously we know that in order to receive all that stuff, you need to tap into gratitude first, right? It's not like you receive it and then you're grateful all of a sudden. So
yeah, I used to be grateful that I didn't actually still live in the Soviet Union, or I was grateful that, you know, my mom was so sweet. I wasn't grateful, you know, I wasn't dwelling on that my dad was never home and that my dad was tough on me when I got into the liquor store. I instead was grateful that mom was amazing. And then I was grateful my dad taught me to be honest and all these things. It's a mindset. It's not my results were predicated on the mindset. Not my mindset became it after my results.
And again, is that mindset, is that something that was just hardwired into you? Because honestly, you know, I grew up with an amazing family and my dad would constantly say, aren't we lucky? Aren't we so grateful? Regardless of what was going down, basically. And so for me, I feel like I was naturally grateful from a really young age. Again, do you think it's a hardwired mindset, or is it something that people can work on and become more grateful?
That's a great question. I don't know. That's a real answer. I do think that it really helps to have parents that are grateful. I think it becomes your culture. I think your atmosphere is absolutely, positively reflectant of who, you know, environment is clearly it, right? Along with DNA. I mean, this has been, by the way, Freud figured this out. Like, this has been around for much longer than us, right? Like, it's your DNA and it's what you grow up with. So yeah, I think Pops saying that to you was a great thing, and I think that my kids are very lucky and should be put in the best position to succeed because they're going to have a lot of those kind of things. And I think that it's been fun for me. I weirdly, you know, actually, I don't think I've ever said this, and I'm glad you guys are making me say this, and I may run with, you guys are going to be happy because I'm going to run with this for a while. I can feel it. I know when there's a pillar of content. I think that I feel guilty that I had such a great mom that I want to almost become the crusader for so many people that didn't have a great mom or dad, who said they were losers and said they couldn't, because I realized how much of a factor that was in my success. And I feel like to pay tribute to my mom and dad and to pay back the universe for all the gifts that were given to me because I had that mom and dad, I want to, you know, I've gotten a lot of emails lately of, hey Gary, it's you know, you've really helped me. Like, my parents always said I couldn't, and you've made me realize I can. I just have to focus on what I can do. Not like these other people that tell me I can do anything and it's gonna be $1 million. You've really made it practical. And I think that whether it's your parents or later in life, a mentor, you know, a sibling sometimes even, somebody needs to be there for the people that are not predispositioned for it, to pull them out mentally. And so I do think it could be formed. I do think mental things can be formed a lot of times.
Nice. Well, we are certainly so grateful for your time here. And when you were sharing earlier about choosing to spend the hour with us, I honestly felt like goosebumps. I just felt so humbled that you're taking the time for our community and for us, and you're absolutely right. Like, this is a fantastic opportunity for us, and we will sure as hell leverage your name on our show. I think we're all aware of that, and in fact we already began to do that. So
I'm sure. No, but you know what's funny though, guys? Like, that's a conscious thing I think about. Like, I'm strategic. I'm a brander. You know what's different than me than most people that everybody's following? Most people that everybody else is following are transactional, right? They try to teach people how to make a buck, and I'm trying to teach people how to make a happy $100 bill versus an awkward dollar bill. Do you understand? Like, I'm trying to get people to play forever and win forever, and I think a lot of people are trying to teach people, like, here's the system. You build up your name, you sell them a program, and you make the money. And I think that a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that, which is why it's weird. And then I also feel like it limits people's upside because every relationship they have is transactional, right? Now, we had a transaction here. Like, I'm looking for book buys, but I'm also quite aware of what I'm delivering in return, right? And so as long as I feel like I'm providing more than 50% of the value in a relationship, then I'm feeling good. And that's what I'm trying to do every time. And I'm selective. I mean, I'm very selective. Like I flat out pick and choose my spots. Like I pick very carefully of who's going to be able to leverage my name. Who am I going to say nice things about in back channel, which is what I mean, look, you can leverage my name all you want. Where it gets really good and where the real magic happens is in the behind the scenes conversations with people. I mean, that's what's going on, right? Like what's going on is what's going on my phone right now, which is Tim Ferriss, Damon John, Seth Godin are my last 3 texts. And we're talking about people and things and business. That's where stuff's going on, right? Not on Twitter. And so not on Google results. So these are real life things. These are big branding things. This is the game.
And I love that you're saying you are selective around that, and I'm going to also assume you're selective around your environment. You know, we know that we're the sum of the people that we hang around, obviously, and I don't just mean financially, I mean like emotionally, spiritually, on every level, right? So there's probably a lot of people sitting on this hangout or listening to the recording and the show going, you know, wow, you know, I'd love to have Tim Ferriss sending me a text message in the middle of the day and just going, what's up, you know? So for someone that is wanting to step into a new environment, like honestly, hanging out with Tim Ferriss right now for some people listening to this is going to just feel like unrealistic. So, you know, what's your advice if someone's sitting there going, you know I'm brilliant, I know I'm getting results, I really feel like I need a better environment around me? Like, how did you end up hanging out with people of that caliber? And I mean, oh, he's gone. He's back. Cool. How did you end up hanging out with people of that caliber, and what would be your advice for people wanting to crank up their environments?
I produced the content that made them want to come to me as much as I wanted to come to them. The end.
Nice.
That's an awesome answer.
That's the answer, right? Like I've never wavered in any other direction. You got to produce the best content.
That's awesome.
That's very cool.
Your results. It's the meritocracy. You know.
That's awesome. Can we ask one more question? We
Yes.
we want to value your time here and finish up. But question is around where social media is going. It seems like entertainment is a big part of personal branding. You are leading the way with the Daily V as well as us, Gary Vee. Where do you think we're going to be in 10 to 15 years?
I have no idea, but I do think virtual reality is on its way. You know, I think VR is coming, but I think it's 20 years away. And so I don't predict, I just react quickly. I'm paying attention to Musical.ly, I'm paying attention to Beam, I'm paying attention to Anchor, I'm paying attention to After School, I'm paying attention to Peach. And then when I think they become big enough that they're important, then I'll get loud like I did with Snapchat, right? So, I don't know where things are going. I'm putting in the work to try to figure it out. I think that's becoming, especially this, people forgot how much of a leader I was on YouTube and Twitter because it's been a long time and all the social media wasn't around and I wasn't blogging as much. So there's no Daily V's or Ask Gary Vee shows of me pontificating that YouTube and Twitter are going to be huge, right? So it's fun now to show people the video in 2013 where I'm like, Snapchat's going to be big, right? And so I think over the next couple years, I think I'll get established even more as a thought leader of where things are going, and I will never predict because I don't want to be wrong. I'll just wait till things are at scale.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you a million times over. We're just so grateful and honestly just like so excited. I'm sure you can imagine us jumping up and down like little girls behind the scenes when you said yes. Like, let's not try and be cool about it. But just super humbled as well, and our community as well. Like, our community went kind of crazy. We have a lot of really, I guess, irreverent, kind of hardcore chicks in our respective communities, and they really just appreciate how you show up, and we appreciate your time more than we could possibly express, as well as everything you've shared here. It's been an incredible interview, and I think my favorite quote is, "I could have been a bus." I'm going to have to tweet that out.
Yeah. Yeah,
guys,
so
I really appreciate you. I really wish you nothing but success, and I can't wait to run into you a bunch more.
It's awesome. Thank you so much, Gary.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Gary.
Ciao.
Cheers.